Come on, let's not try and play a little gotcha word games here. Anything else you want to ask about?
Ben Ginsberg, Chief Counsel and Senior Advisor to the Romney campaign. I feel like I'm sort of throwing you a life ring just by offering you the chance to say goodbye, but I also hope this doesn't mean you'll never come back.
Well, it's a pleasure to be with you. Say hi to Steve Schmidt for me.
I will do, indeed. Thank you, sir. All right.
Bye, guys.
Steve is perfectly capable. Steve is actually more capable than anyone I know of jumping in on his own terms. So I'm never going to invite him unless he wants to be invited. Am I right, Steve? Oh, the Republican damning with faint praise all night long. It's going to be great. All right, still ahead, much more on the role of negative advertising playing in Iowa, whether or not those PACs are affiliated with the campaigns or whether we wink and nod and pretend they're not. We'll be talking about the negative ads focused in particular on Newt Gingrich, and we'll be talking with one of Mr. Gingrich's main supporters. You're watching MSNBC's coverage of the Iowa caucuses. Stay with us.
To the 5 a.m. scholar, the 2 trains and a bus rider, the I'll sleep when it's done academic. For 80 years, we've been inspired by you, and we've been honored to walk with you, to help you get where you want to be. Because your moment is now. Let nothing stand in your way. Learn more at keller.edu.
What if that hemorrhoid pain is non-stop to Seattle? Just carry Preparation H Totables, discreet little tubes packed with big relief. From the brand doctors recommend most by name. Preparation H Totables, the anywhere Preparation H.
Cranberry juice, wake up!
That's good morning, veggie style.
For half the calories plus veggie nutrition, could have had a V8.
As far as I can tell, Mom woke up and she couldn't breathe.
Luckily, I had my medical alert button. I pushed it. Help! I don't know how they heard me. Medical alert saved my life.
Introducing Medical Alert. When seconds count, count on us for help at the push of a button. It's easy to install, it's waterproof, and has a 600-foot range.
I feel so much better knowing that Medical Alert sends help at the push of a button for any emergency. Fire, break-in, or of course, a medical alert. I just know they're there for us.
Get Medical Alert now for only $29.95 a month. There are no long-term contracts and no hidden activation fees. Order right now and get your second button free.
Being independent is a wonderful gift, especially when it is so easy.
Order your system now. Go to medicalalert.com or call 1-800-800-3137. That's 1-800-800-3137 right now.
Negative campaign ads have played an outsized role in Iowa this election cycle. NBC News national investigative correspondent Michael Isikoff has more now on just what the role of those ads have been this year. Good evening, Mike.
Good evening, Rachel. So, look, one of the biggest stories out of tonight's Iowa caucus is clearly the power of these attack ads funded by so-called super PACs. The best example, as you've been discussing, a pro-Romney super PAC called Restore Our Future. A figure to keep in mind, $2.8 million. That's how much Restore Our Future spent on TV ads in Iowa, and it's actually nearly twice as much as the $1.5 million spent by Romney's own presidential campaign. And almost all of that super PAC ad money has gone for harsh attacks against Newt Gingrich like these.
Newt has more baggage than the airlines. He was fined $300,000 for ethics violations and took $1.6 million from Freddie Mac.
I made a big mistake in the spring.
Haven't we had enough mistakes? Restore Our Future is responsible for the content of this message.
How much of an impact did these ads have? Look at this. On December 4th, Gingrich is number one in Iowa with 26% in the polls. That's that very week, the super PAC ad blitz begins, and by the end of the month, Newt's support is cut in half to just 13%. Now, most political analysts say the attack ads played a big factor, if not the only factor in Gingrich's fall. They were made, this is interesting, by Larry McCarthy, a Restore Our Future founder and veteran Republican media consultant who was best known for making the Willie Horton ad that was so devastating against Michael Caucus in 1988.
He allowed first-degree murderers to have weekend passes from prison. One was Willie Horton, who murdered a boy in a robbery, stabbing him 19 times.
This year, Restore Our Futures isn't the only super PAC that has been bombarding the airwaves in Iowa. All the presidential candidates have them, but what they do have in common, thanks to that Supreme Court ruling, which you were discussing before, they can take unlimited donations from wealthy donors and corporations, and all that's resulting in millions for attack ads that are changing the course of this presidential campaign.
NBC's Michael Isikoff. Michael, thank you for that. I want to get some reaction to that now from the Gingrich campaign. Rick Tyler was an early supporter of Newt Gingrich. He served as his campaign spokesman until he left the campaign with a lot of other staffers in June. Rick has returned to the fold, and now he's part of the Winning Our Future super PAC that is running ads in support of Mr. Gingrich. Mr. Tyler, thanks very much for joining us tonight. We're happy to have you.
Hey, Rachel, I'm glad to be here.
Do you agree with the basic thesis that when people can donate money and not have their name attached to that money, and when candidates can have PACs affiliated with them without technically being affiliated with them, that there is more freedom to run more negative and in some cases more false advertising?
Well, that's certainly been the result of the super PACs with the Romney campaign. And look, I think the whole system is broken. Why shouldn't candidates have this ability to raise all the money they can themselves and just be transparent about it, about who has the money? But that's what we get when politicians try to quell free speech. The Supreme Court narrowly ruled, and so here we are with super PACs, and this is the first result. And by the way, the first result may, in fact, not be any of the candidates out of Iowa, but Iowa itself. If, in fact, it proves that the candidate who spent the least amount of time and the most amount of money on negative ads wins Iowa, then people will pretty quickly get the idea. You don't have to eat the pork chop on the stick, go to 99 counties, forget going to the businesses, just run negative ads, because that's what it will take to win Iowa. I hope that's not the case tonight.
Rick Taylor with the Winning Our Future super PAC. I'm sorry that we are short on time to talk to you tonight, but I'm looking forward to talking with you over the course of the evening as this unfolds tonight. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
All right, the doors are about to open at caucus sites throughout Iowa. We will be back in just a moment. Our team here in New York and our team in Des Moines, we're going to be here throughout the evening as the results start to come in from Iowa. Right now, the polling heading into tonight's race, it's very, very tight among three candidates at the top, but the field is basically wide open. You are watching MSNBC's coverage of the Iowa caucuses. Stay with us.
Is zero worth nothing? Imagine zero pollutants in our environment, or zero dependency on foreign oil. This is why we at Nissan built a car inspired by zero, because zero is worth everything. The zero gas, 100% electric Nissan Leaf. Innovation for the planet, innovation for all.
I'm away on a movie shoot, and it hasn't been going exactly as planned.
Cut! Cut!
I thought we'd be on location for 3 days. It's been 3 weeks, so I had to pick up some more things. Good thing I've got the City Simplicity card. I don't get hit with a fee if I'm late with a payment, which is good, because on this job, I may not be home for a while.
The new City Simplicity card. No late fees, no penalty rate, no worries.
What's better than Empire's professional next-day installation? Getting it for free during our installation sale. Give your home a fresh new look with beautiful new carpet today and get Empire's professional installation absolutely free. Shop at home for the latest styles, trusted brand names. Pay no interest for a year and have it all installed for free. Call today. Our installation sale won't last long.
800-588-2300 Empire.
Today. This is Lois. The day starts with arthritis pain, a load of new listings, and 2 pills. After a morning of walk-ups, it's back to more pain, back to more pills. The evening showings bring more pain and more pills. Sealing the deal when, hang on, her doctor recommended Aleve. It can relieve pain all day with fewer pills than Tylenol. This is Lois, who chose 2 Aleve and fewer pills for a day free of pain. And get the all-day pain relief of Aleve and liquid gels.
Welcome back to MSNBC's coverage of the Iowa caucuses. I'm Rachel Maddow here in New York City. The doors have just opened at caucus sites in Iowa's 1,774 precincts. Now, what happens is the doors have opened now. In an hour, those doors will close, and the voting will then begin behind those closed doors. Chris Matthews is at the Polk County Convention Center in Des Moines. Hi again, Chris.
Thank you, Rachel. Well, sometimes analysis creates news itself. Tonight, Lawrence O'Donnell posed a question to the counsel for Mitt Romney, and he said, why doesn't Mitt Romney clear the air of the questions of dishonest campaigning by calling upon all so-called unaffiliated political action committees to stop running negative ads? Responding to that was the counsel for the Romney campaign, Ben Ginsberg, who we all know. And then he said tonight, Ben Ginsberg, something that turns out not to be consistent with what his own candidate has been saying. Ginsberg said a candidate can't tell an unaffiliated political action committee to stop going negative. Well, let's take a look at what Mitt Romney, his candidate, Ben's candidate, said on December 21st on Fox and Friends. Let's watch.
There are limits as to what you can tell a PAC. Obviously, there are these coordination rules. You're not allowed to coordinate. But I'm sure I could go out and say, hey, please don't do anything negative. But you know, this is politics. And if you can't stand the heat in this little kitchen, wait until the Obama Hell's Kitchen turns up the heat.
Well, I have to go back to Lawrence and pass it back to him, Rachel, because he started this little kerfuffle. It turns out that Ben Ginsberg has not checked with his candidate. His candidate believes he has the right to stop this putrefying of the airways by simply calling up his own political action committee associated with him and say, stop doing this. Ben says he couldn't do that legally. I think we just heard the candidate say he could.
He did do that, Chris, and he could make it more general if necessary to satisfy Attorney Ginsburg's technical reading of this law. He could just say, I don't want any negative advertising in the campaign. I hope there's no negative advertising in the campaign. People shouldn't use those tactics. He doesn't have to specify and say this particular PAC should not do negative advertising. I think that does skirt possibly too close to the lines in the law. But again, Ben Ginsburg was pretending that these candidates have completely surrendered their First Amendment rights as to discussing any of the nature of advertising in these campaigns.
What seems interesting to me, too, is the question of whether, sorry, just to jump in there, Chris, it seems interesting to me the question of whether or not that would make any difference. I mean, we did see Newt Gingrich attempt, at least for a hot second, to build his Iowa campaign on the idea that there would be no negative campaigning coming from him. It may just be a reflection of indiscipline on the part of Mr. Gingrich, but even he himself is now out there this morning on CBS calling Mitt Romney point blank a liar, which is pretty much as negative as you can get. So do we actually think that these guys would stop going negative, or the PACs would stop going negative?
No, look, my concern is not that they call names to each other, but we can see their mouth doing it. I just want a campaign where the voters have some transparency here and can actually see who's trashing each other. If you can win a campaign by running a total trash the opponent campaign and never have the voters see you do it, who's not going to do it? That will become modern campaigning. Smile. Recite the verses from America the Beautiful, which is what Mitt has been doing for the last several days, while under the current of TV is trashing your opponent. It reminds me, I'll say it again, I said it the other night, of The Godfather. I'm sorry, it must have been The Untouchables, with De Niro attending the opera and enjoying Pagliacci while his guy was gunning down Jimmy, the police officer. I mean, it's become that Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. I think the voters ought to know, who they're voting for. If they're voting for a guy who's destroying his opponent, fine. If they're voting for a guy who looks like he's got clean hands and would never do something like that, then we're really into a difficult stealth kind of campaigning here, Rachel. Howard wants to get in here.
That's if I just point out that Mitt Romney has showed to me already a penchant for trying to belittle the guts or even the manhood of the people he's running against. He keeps comparing Barack Obama to Marie Antoinette. He talks about Lucy in the kitchen. Now here he's saying, well, if you can't stand the heat in this little kitchen, then you should get out. So on the one hand, Mitt Romney is trying to portray himself as a nice guy, a really nice guy, but he's proud of the fact. He's almost saying, I'm proud of the fact that I can operate in this system, that I can operate in this way. This is what it takes to win. And this is such a cold-blooded argument to be making to Republican voters, and Republican voters, frankly, aren't really buying it. They aren't
And let's
really
remember
buying
that
it.
the brave Mitt Romney is hiding behind a super PAC in doing this advertising for him.
Right,
and Chris's point is, Rachel, we're never going to get rid of negative campaigning, negative ads. I don't know if we'll even end up reducing them. But the point is, what's important about it is everything we can do, we should do. Both the campaign should do this, and we in the media